Welcome back. I'm Mike Renner alongside Sam Monson, and today we're going to be breaking down the New York Giants' 1-4 start. Had such high hopes going into the season, but we weren't one of the people on board. We said, hold up, wait a minute. This is a very flawed roster, and it's come to fruition that they look like one of the worst teams in the NFL after their start. What's wrong with them?
And the irony is that Saquon Barkley, their #2 overall draft pick, is actually playing really well.
Yeah.
He's making plays, particularly in the pass game, which is what we said all along was the most important part of anything he was going to be asked to do. He is holding up his end of the bargain, but the Giants missed out on potentially getting a franchise-defining quarterback in the draft, and they didn't address the problems that are all over the rest of this team, and those are the things that are holding them back despite Saquon Barkley playing so well.
Yeah, they are the sort of case study for how not to build a team in 2018, spending all this money, all these draft capital on a running back, a wide receiver, signing defensive end, cornerbacks in free agency, but they've pretty much ignored the offensive line for the most part over the past few years. They finally made some additions over the offseason. Nate Solder, Will Hernandez, the second-round pick at guard, has been playing very well, but it's too little too late. There's still huge issues on both sides of the ball on the offensive and defensive lines.
Yeah, Hernandez is playing well, but it's just not enough. They have the 6th worst pass blocking efficiency score of any offensive line in the league. That's a pass blocking metric based on the amount of snaps you're giving, or the amount of snaps you're playing pass blocking, and the number of pressures you're giving up. The Giants are giving up a ton of pressure. They're down there with some of the worst offensive lines in the entire league. It's a huge problem, and Eli Manning is just not good enough to raise his level in spite of that much pressure. His 2011 season was phenomenal in the face of a huge amount of pressure. 2018, Eli Manning just isn't able to do that.
I think that's the crux of the issue as well. The fact that everyone wants to make these excuses for why Eli Manning's not playing well. Yes, the offensive line is not great. Yes, there's some inconsistency and injury at the skill positions, but a franchise-type quarterback would be able to overcome those things. You can't keep making excuses for a guy whose play has been declining like his is. At some point, you need to address it. Now, the contract he got really was such that they couldn't have cut him before this year. They were basically tied to him, so I can see why maybe that's part of the reason why they didn't go after a quarterback, just because how much cap space was relegated to him. But at the same time, if you need to put everything to be perfect around him to run a good offense, it's probably time to move on.
Yeah, and it's something he's done in the past. We have seen Eli Manning able to raise his game despite that much pressure, but the guy can't do it anymore, and that's the real problem because the receivers are there. Odell Beckham, that receiving core is absolutely stacked, particularly when you add in a game breaker like Saquon Barkley who can beat linebackers, who can be a matchup problem on offense, but Eli Manning can't raise his game enough to take advantage of them, and the defense has its fair share of problems as well, particularly without Olivier Vernon, who with Jason Pierre-Paul now down in Tampa, he was their pass rush, the entirety of it, and that's the way it's been so far through this season. There's nobody getting pressure.
And I think then you also have to look at the draft picks in recent years. Just the fact that they've whiffed on multiple now top 10 draft picks, and they just today cut Eric Flowers because he got benched at right tackle. Didn't live up to the top 10 billing. And Eli Apple as well on the other side of the ball. Thought he was going to be a franchise-type cornerback. Has not been that guy.
Yeah, though he's been playing a little bit better through the start of this season. I'm not 100% ready to write off Eli Apple yet, but he hasn't been the guy. He hasn't made the impact that a Denzel Ward has made with Cleveland, just immediately transformed that defense. He's been a part of their struggles, and really both sides of the ball have issues. Are they the worst team in football right now, Mike? I'm
not going to call them the worst team in football because I think the offense can still play at a high level when you go up against a team without a pass rush, but they have very, very, very flawed roster at this point.
And they were a team that our win projection model did not like heading into the season. They were right down there amongst the worst teams in terms of win projections heading into the year.
There you have it. The Giants, not the worst team in football, but around there. A lot of issues, both sides of the ball. Make sure to go to the PFF YouTube channel and check out all our other videos.